What's up guys, Ibra here with Hardware Canucks, and in our previous notebook roundup video we compared 3 high-end gaming laptops starting at $2,500 all the way up to $5K. Not all of us have the means to invest on such expensive machines, nor do we need that much power. So today we will be taking a look at the P57W from Gigabyte.
The Z9 Neo by Zalman brings all the right features on a budget, with a large windowed side panel, 5 included fans, and an excellent interior layout with super simple cable management. Get it now? Link in description below.
It's priced a little north of $1,700, which I would say is a reasonable price bracket for a 17-inch form factor and specs, but a smaller model, the P57W, can be picked up for $1,400. Hardware-wise, I love the powerful combination of an i7, 16GB of RAM, 256GB M.2 SSD, along with a 1TB 7200rpm hard drive, a GTX 970M, and a 17.3-inch 1080p IPS display. The above average price here is because of the faster CPU and a larger display. It is IPS, so viewing angles and contrast ratio are excellent. It's also really bright at max settings, and since it's matte coated, you can say goodbye to reflections and no backlit bleed detected. Thumbs up Gigabyte. The build quality reminds me of the P55, which is okay, but improvements could be made. The screen is pretty rigid thanks to the tough plastic material, but prepare to clean it often as the surface tends to pick up a ton of fingerprints. The notebook weighs about 6 pounds, which in my eyes is very portable for a 17-inch laptop, especially coming from the 8-pound MSI GT7 II, and as you can see, it's nearly half the size of that monster. For ports, we have a Kensington lock, Gigabit Ethernet, 2 USB 3.0 ports, an SD card reader, a separate headphone microphone jack. On the other side, we have our power input, VGA output, mini display port, HDMI 2.0, USB 3.1 Type-C port, and a single USB 3.0 port. At the front, you'll find a Blu-ray drive, which is so unnecessary. I'd rather have a slimmer profile, but luckily you can substitute a drive in that spot for extra storage. Placement of the eject button though is totally annoying. It's right underneath your thumbs, so there's no way to avoid accidental presses. The speakers are placed at the front. They're okay to listen to casual tunes, but you won't be blown away. I would have preferred front-facing speakers as they project sound a lot better. Sadly, I encountered issues with the headphone jack on our sample. Oftentimes, I had to plug it numerous times for the notebook to actually recognize the headphone. Moving on to the keyboard, the typing experience on the P57 was okay. I really enjoyed typing on its younger brother, the P55, but I'm not sure what happened to Gigabyte this time. Keystrokes felt mushy with less tactile feedback, and there was quite a bit of flex when typing as well. It features 2 levels of backlighting, and this can be useful in darker environments. Gigabyte in our experience have a poor history with trackpads, and the same applies here. The surface is pretty smooth for navigation, but there's quite a bit of latency with tracking, and the cursor was skipping frames. The primary left and right click buttons are built into the trackpad, no consistency to press across the surface, and we prefer to have dedicated buttons. But gaming aside, you can't really do anything productive, and I highly recommend picking up an external mouse. Crack opening the notebook, it's nice and well laid out. The GPU and CPU are cooled by separate fans. The M.2 SSD is upgradable. Our model dished out a little over 500 megabytes per second on read and 433 megabytes per second on write with Crystal Disk Mark. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. Is it fast enough for our needs in 2016? Let us know in the comments section down below. The RAM is also upgradable to 32 GB. The hard drive is easily accessible, and overall Gigabyte has done a fantastic job with the internal layout. The 970M is a pioneer for the mid-tier GPU space with acceptable results, so if you're looking to play medium to high settings at 1080p, you'll totally be content. The division on this machine averaged at 47 frames per second. Watch Dogs at high settings ran a little over 50 frames per second, and for easy run titles like CSGO, getting over 150 frames per second is a satisfactory number. Temperatures were respectable too. The GPU hovered around 71 degrees C at load, and during idle it was sitting around 41 degrees Celsius. Battery life met our expectations for a gaming laptop with a respectable 4 hours of heavy internet usage with max brightness. Lowering that will eventually yield more time. It's interesting to see how these large gaming-oriented notebooks are becoming more popular as they aim to close the gap between portable space and desktop replacements. And let us know how likely you are to choose a 17-inch notebook over something smaller. For conclusion, the P57W was a good machine, with a nice display, competitive specs, and great performance. The price premium over the 15-inch variant is a tough sell though, especially when the extra cost does nothing to improve the poor trackpad nor the speakers. This notebook is a perfect example of how simple hardware specs are in everything, as there's nothing particularly interesting or exciting about the P57. I think those wanting a 17-inch notebook want it for everything it has to offer, taking into account usability plus performance, and we feel the user experience of this machine needs to be improved to stand out within the market today. Let us know your thoughts on this form factor and reasons why you would pick the 17-inch over the 15-inch given the same specs. I'm Eber with Canucks. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.